I'm more than honored to welcome Marie Alessi. Hi, Marie.
Hey, Romana.
You are my first guest in this second year of Happiness Reloaded, and it's just like, yay, amazing. Marie, we know each other for about 8 months now, and you've been one of my
Whoa.
first interviews here on Happiness Reloaded. That was, I think, half a year ago. And for all new
Wow.
members, please, will you introduce yourself and your wonderful Facebook group?
I will. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited that I'm actually doing this today because today is also a very, very special day for me. I have my very personal Independence Day today. So today, 17 years ago, I actually moved to Australia. So hello and welcome and good evening from Australia. Thank you, Romana, for having me. I can't believe it's only been 8 months that we met. I feel like I've known you for half my lifetime. I really like it. I feel we have such a soul connection. It's really beautiful. I feel so honored to be here. Um, I have started a movement a bit over 2 years ago. So I literally just had my 2 year celebration in March, and the movement is called A Loving Life After Loss. It's pretty self explaining. My background is I originally come through the advertising industry. I spent about 10 years there, then went into self development, started my own business, worked predominantly with mindset, with small business owners. And that has become a really, really good background for me when I received the very sudden and unexpected news that my husband had passed away on a business trip. So that was 3 years ago. We literally just passed the 3 year mark. So lots of anniversaries all around, not all of them very happy. And when I received those news, I just instantly knew I had to do something with this and not drown in this, if that makes sense. So I instantly knew something had to happen with this. Yet it, you know, took a lot of processing to get there. So yeah, that's like the background in a nutshell.
So many questions come up for me now because, first of all, you moved to Australia 17 years ago, and it's your celebration
Mm-hmm.
night tonight.
Yes.
I asked you that question before, but not live. Do you have to be brave to do something like that? Because for me, it's like, oh my
Yeah,
God, just move to the other side of the earth from my point of view.
exactly. Just move to the other side of the planet. It's really interesting in such because a lot of people have asked me that or commented, "Oh my God, that's so brave." And I always looked at them and thought, "What are they talking about? I'm just going home." That's how it felt to me. I did not feel that it was that brave. I had been to Australia 11 times before, so I've spent a lot of time here. I felt this was my chosen home. I always had the feeling I was just accidentally born on the wrong side of the planet. And when I finally made the decision to make the move, because I knew within myself, deep down inside, I always had the feeling this is where I belong. I could never explain why. It always felt like a really strong calling. I have to go to Australia. And then I arrived here in October 97 for the first time. And I instantly had this feeling of coming home. It was a really strong feeling in my heart. I'm finally home. I still remember that so vividly. And I was bawling my eyes out all the way home when I had to go back to Austria on the flight. I was literally crying the whole flight because I didn't want to go back. I just felt I had found my home and now I had to go back to, it was really interesting. But to cut a very long story short, when I finally moved here after 11 visits, my 12th visit was a one-way ticket. I started to learn and understand what people meant by this is so brave, because then the tiny little hurdles started coming up with the visa. And because when I moved here, I was still on a tourist visa. I arranged my working visa from here and then got into permanent residence a couple of years later. So there were a lot of stumbling blocks and hurdles, and also, working in a different country in a different language. You don't realize how much you don't learn at school when you have English at school. And I was always one of the best because languages are really natural to me. I learned English Like I started with English when I was 5 years old. We had American friends, and so it was very natural to me as an almost second language, but then you realize how it's not a second language when you actually start working in another language. It was incredible. Like things like hole puncher, locha, all these things where like, what do you call that thing? The thing where you punch hole puncher. I'm like, yeah. So much stationery that did not make sense to me when I first worked here, and all of the cultural differences in terms of how do you answer the phone. There was a lot of, being from Australia was very task driven. You ring, you come to the point, and you say goodbye. And in Australia, it's like floskel. You have all these, all these. Yeah, perfect. All these really lovely things that you say at first, and then you get to the point, and then you have a lot more lovely things to say, and then you say goodbye. And it's very sandwich approach, lovely things, what do you actually need? Lovely things, goodbye. So you had to learn that. I often started with the task and then went back to the beginning of the message and edited in, hey, how's it going? I hope you had a nice day. Can I just, So yeah, lots of adjustments, and that's when I realized what people actually meant by it's really brave to start somewhere from fresh. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Let's state I was very brave. I just didn't realize it at the time.
So I take that brave question again, because you said you started a movement after Rob died, and I think that is another very brave act, to confront yourself with the process of grief.
Yeah. So after Rob passed, there was obviously a lot to do, a lot of paperwork and a lot of things to sort through, and a lot of processing to do emotionally. And I had a bit of a nervous breakdown throughout that time, like literally a week after his funeral, because it just got too much. And decided to see a counsellor for a while. I was with her for about 4 months probably, and it was the most incredible thing I could have done. She was so supportive, so understanding. She unfortunately had lost her mum after our first session together, so that was really quite incredible to find somebody who's going through that in the exact same freshness as I did, but from a professional point of view. So we actually developed quite a friendship through that as well. And I got her into the movement for interviews. So it was such a beautiful way how it all naturally unfolded. And she was the one who actually asked me that one day. And I remember one session where I was in so much overwhelm because everybody was bombarding me with their expectations on how you're supposed to grieve, and everybody had their own understanding of what they expected me to do or how to fall apart and all these things. And she looked at me so calmly and said, so what does grief mean to you, Marie? And I was like, wow, the calmness, it just literally infused me. And I did not expect the one word that came up, and that was empowerment. I had found such empowerment through grief, and it was really unexpected from my end. I did not expect that to come on such a profound level. And it was this inner guidance that came with it. I felt so connected within. I felt so looked after. I felt really supported throughout the whole thing. And without wanting to sound too airy-fairy, I felt so supported by the universe. I really felt I was looked after everywhere. It was just coming to me, I was attracting that. And I also noticed that I found a very unique way of dealing with this and a very empowered way of dealing with it. And in that session, I think that was when the seed was planted to actually write a book about that. And when I wrote the book, I did that in record time. And it was literally like a full download. In 4 weeks, I had written, edited, and published the book. And the book title was chosen by the lady who took me under her wings, Pam Brossman. She took me under her wings to do a book writing course with her, and I did it in half the time because it's an 8-week course. And she suggested that title. And at first I wasn't even too keen on it. And like Loving Life After Loss, it's a bit, Hollywood movie sort of. And I'm like, that's not me. But then it really grew on me. And I thought that's exactly it, actually. It's a philosophy. It's a, how do I want to live my life? It's a call to action. it's a title for a movement. It's all of the above. It was so perfect. So it was a book title first. And when it hit the top 100 of Australia overnight, that was another very unexpected thing. I was like, wow, that's when I realized I have something that the world needs, and that is hope and happiness and joy after grief. Nobody expects that. Nobody shares that with you. Everybody only ever shares the sadness, the heaviness, the how do you cope, the falling apart. And it was all part of it. I had all of that, the falling apart, the heaviness, the sadness, the grief, the hurt, the joy, the happiness, the beautiful memories, the love, the incredible amount of love that I felt throughout this whole thing. It is all part of it. And I don't understand why society tries to teach us to only put focus on the one side, on the negative side. It gets very lopsided, and it's not necessary. So throughout that, I took the boys and traveled around the world with them after the book came out, because I felt we needed a break as a family. I wanted to get away from all the first milestones, Christmas, New Year's, birthdays. Well, the boys' birthdays are in January. And so I decided to travel till school goes back. I took them out of school early. We went over, our big summer holidays are in December, January, and I took them and traveled around the world. And so unfortunate that I didn't know you back then. I could have actually met and hugged you in person. That would have been perfect. But no, I was in Salzburg over New Year's, actually. So, yeah, and when I came back, this is when I started the movement. So I had a meeting with a beautiful mentor, Mark Bonnet, who, taught me everything I needed to know to build a movement, to build a group, and the rest is really history. And I'm sure you can ask me more questions about that, but that's how it all started.
Yeah.
So 19th of March 19 is when I opened the doors to my movement for the first time.
Wow. And now you have how many members? Because that's amazing.
Over 3,100. I don't know the exact number, but it's been over 3,100 when I last checked. So yeah.
And what I think is so amazing too, that most of them are active members, right? Because Facebook shows us who's active, who's just there, and so
that is the one thing that really blew me away, because I literally I just literally posted that in a group because I wanted to share that with a group as a thank you, as an acknowledgement, as appreciation for them, because out of those 3,100 something members, there are roughly 2,500 active, which is incredible. It's an absolutely incredible amount. It's 75%. This is unheard of. Usually groups have got, I don't know the exact stats, but it's usually way under 50% of the active members in the group, and that is really incredible. So I'm quite blown away. We have created something really very special and beautiful there. And I say we because I have a lot of support in this group of beautiful members, and also by my lovely Mod Squad. That's what they call themselves, my moderator team, Mod Squad.
Mod
Squad. I love it. So, yeah.
So after we finish our interview, please post your group in the comments so people can join it.
Thank you.
You, dear audience, join Marie's group, have a look. And of course, you share your website with us as well, if you want.
I'm happy to, yeah.
Cool. And if there's anybody watching this via replay, and I'm sure you're doing, please #replay, ask your questions if you have any, and tell us where you're watching from, and maybe you are a member of Marie's group already. So
then you'll see the video over there again.
Yeah. And you can see it on YouTube, Vimeo, and on LinkedIn. So
and follow and subscribe and all of that.
So we had our first interview in my group about half a year ago, I remember. And what I'm very interested in is, how did you spend that last half year? Because so many things happened.
Yes. How many hours have we got, just so I know?
Feel free. I mean, I can edit it afterwards.
Cut it all out. Say whatever you want. I'll cut it out. what happened in the last half a year? The last half a year has been absolutely incredibly intense for me. If I had to put it in one word, it would be intense, really intense. I remember I started off in January with stepping back from the movement for 3 weeks because I had this overwhelming feeling of I don't feel connected anymore. I don't know what I'm doing here. And it's like, and actually through talking to you, Romana, because we, for those who don't know, we became really, really close friends over the last 8 months, and we talk a lot, like literally a lot. There were like most of the time we talk like pretty much every day. And you were the one who pointed out, it's like, do you think you went into burnout, Marie? And I was like, bing, yes, of course. And I had not noticed this till you pointed it out. So I was really grateful for that because I could act on that accordingly. And my action on that was, I'm stepping back today, right now. I sent a message to my mod squad team. I said, I need a break. And they took over. It was incredible. I did not want to alarm anybody in the movement before I make any major decisions. And I didn't have to make any major decisions because all I needed was a break. I realized that everybody else goes on holidays. I, in almost 2 years at that stage, had not ever taken a weekend or a week off to step away. And as most business owners know, when you have something really big on your hands, you need to step away every now and then to get an outside perspective. So I allowed myself to do that, and something really, really magical happened in those 3 weeks where I was away. I literally became so aware of what has been going on. So in the movement, we had worked so much on healing journeys and programs to go through the healing stages. And I had already developed a couple of different programs at that stage. Yet I myself had reached a stage where most of the healing was done. And of course, it's ongoing and there's always other things to look at and other layers to discover. But most of the intense healing was done. And I had to come to a stage where I realized that every adversity that we have in our lives is like a blank canvas. And that is the most beautiful perspective that you can have about adversity, to see it as a blank canvas, not as something bad that happened to me. It's a blank canvas. It just is. It's not bad. It's not good. Most of us are used to classifying as somebody dying in your life as something bad. Well, it's easy to judge it as such, but if you see it as something neutral, in my case, I see it as this was part of our soul contract. And I understand everybody's got different beliefs, but that is my belief, that Rob and I had a soul contract, and we have come to the stage where it was his part to go. And so when I had, when I had achieved this, when I had arrived at this realization that that's what it is for me, I realized it is like a blank canvas, and I want to create something that helps people that have reached that level where they realize, okay, it's me now, and what do I want to create in my life? Because it's all about that decision, to make a decision that you can create something special, and then it's in your power to do so. And that really led me to develop a new program, like the next level sort of, after what I've done before, after all the healing journeys and the experience, which was also an 8 weeks program. But it was all based on healing. And then this program is based on creation, when you have done the healing and when you are like, okay, so, but what's next? Where's my purpose? How do I learn to trust again? How do I create a circle of trust and a circle of comfort for me where I belong? Where do I go in terms of my needs, my wants, my hidden gifts? So they're not hidden anymore, that I can actually harness them, There is a lot of empowerment in this program, and a lot of joy and fun and beautiful just gifts, and that to me was so close to my heart. I just absolutely love the program, and, quite suitably, I named it Blank Canvas because I feel that's exactly what it is. So yeah, that's another 8 weeks program that I'm super passionate about, and it's actually the only program that I personally run live these days. Everything else has been put out there for everybody to use, as in the group. They have the healing journey there to go through, and that's the one thing that I'm super passionate about. It's my baby, it's my everything. I just absolutely love it, and it's just extremely amazing having seen the first lot go through was just incredible to watch the transformation. It was such a gift to me as well. So yeah, that's what basically happened the last 6 months. And I decluttered the whole house. I finished decluttering my house. That was like a 3-year process. I finished. I'm done. Woohoo! That was really, really big for me on an emotional basis. And and now I feel it's my blank canvas. You know, my whole life lays ahead of me. My whole second half of the life, if I'm lucky. So that's how I feel anyway. So I feel like I'm halfway there. So we'll see what the second half will bring. And I'm just I feel very grounded right now. I feel so looked after, and I feel I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. So cheers to that. Whoop. My lip balm.
Yeah, I as I joined the Blank Canvas program, I really, for me it was so strange how things got together with it, because I was in grief. That's how we met, right? So
Yeah.
Every time I see a picture of my grandma, I think, yeah, it's such a pity you're gone. But without that, I would never ever have met Marie, for example.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing for me to get that different angle to look at things. And as for the Blank Canvas program, I really loved it so much because I really took a blank canvas, right, and started painting again, for
you
example.
You actually physically had one. I love it.
Yeah, that's so. And another thing is, what I really liked was that decluttering you started, and we talked a lot about it, because I always, up to that point, I mean, decluttering is très chic at the moment, so people just do it, right? And
especially
I always
during
thought,
COVID, because everybody's at home.
Yeah, right. And I always thought, you throw away all your memories. That's what you do. Like, I don't want to do that, right? So we talked a lot about it, and I got to that point. Okay, it's more a clearing, right? You are allowed to keep some memories. You don't have to push yourself. And that came together with that Blank Canvas program so nicely. And I really, so if you're out there and you want to start your blank canvas, then get in touch with Marie. It's the best thing I could have done, really. And I still like.
Thank you. I was so honored that I had you in the very first one. It's
Yeah, even though the time.
So you were just broken up. You liked us so much.
Pardon?
You were so dedicated, because with the time difference between Austria and Australia, it was like 1:30 in the morning for you. I just could not believe this is dedication right there, people. Like, seriously, Romana, so much Posthasenöl. I have to say your name. I just absolutely love it. This is dedication, absolute dedication, to rock up at 1:30 in the morning for a 2-hour session. That really blew me away. I was like, you sure you want to do that? Because it's like really not the ideal time frame for you. So it's like,
no, I think it's the most unideal time. So it's in the middle of the night. But it really, these were those moments, you get up at 1:15 in the morning, and after 5 minutes talking, you are here. And that's what I loved so much. So do you think, if there, for example, there would be 4 or 5 Austrian people, did you ever think of putting the whole program into German language and go like?
I could easily run it in German because it's my mother tongue. And I'm really, really happy that you gave me the opportunity to do this interview in English, because English really has become my emotional language. So when I talk about my business, I think in English most of the time. So I think it would have been very stumbling if I would have done this in German, funny enough. I really thought about it because I had quite a bit of interest in Europe, like in the UK predominantly. And then, of course, I know a lot of people in Austria because that's where I'm originally from. Yet the time frame is so unfortunate for me. I really don't know how to do this while my boys are relatively young. They're 11 and 13. They are more and more self-sufficient. yet it would take 2 hours out of my time when they're at home. So it's really not possible at the moment otherwise. However, there might be a different option as of next year when my little one goes to high school, and when we wait for the right time difference, because when we change daylight savings, sometimes we have 10, sometimes we have 8 hours, where the course might be available between 10 p.m. and midnight. It's definitely easier than 1:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. So still not ideal. It will never be ideal for Europe, unfortunately, with the time difference. But there might be an option when there's enough interest to run it at that time frame from 10 p.m. till midnight. So yeah, and this is definitely a program, as you know, Romana, because you've been in there, that it's really, it needs to be done in person. It is so interactive and so down to the core of your being, to the core of your purpose, of what you want to create and who you want to be, who you have become throughout the adversity, and really celebrating that. And it's very interactive what we do in this beautiful program. So yeah. But I'll put it out there that hopefully it will work for Europe as well next year. That would be great.
Cool. Marie, as always, when we are talking, time is like, I don't know, half an hour is over already. How did that happen? I've got no clue.
No, let's restart.
So is there something you'd like to tell people, for like some life wisdom you want to share?
I've done a talk recently that I would like to leave you with the very natural version of it, because I think the one sentence that I hear all the time in grief groups, in grief support groups, not so supportive, is there'll always be a hole in my heart, you know. And I always felt very strange about this sentence. There'll always be a hole in my heart. And I did a talk about that and said, what if we were to replace this with, there'll always be a place in my heart? Because I really prefer to have a very special place in my heart for Rob, where he can reside while always have the beautiful memories, which I have anyway, because he lives on through the boys. I see them every day, you know. But everybody loses different people with different relationships. And when you replace your thinking to, there'll always be a place in my heart, it is so much more nurturing and healing and beautiful. Because let's face it, if you want to keep someone in a heart that's got a hole, all the memories will just fall out. That is my vision of it when people say, I have a hole in my heart. And I'm like, you don't. You have a place in your heart. And I think it is a really beautiful way of shifting our perspective around and our language around what has actually happened, if we allow ourselves to do so. That's what I would like to leave you guys with.
Oh, thank you so much. That touches me. Thank you, Marie. Lovely.
Thank
you people out there, the audience, send us hearts and likes and whatever you have. Comment, ask, and let us know how you liked our interview. I'm sure you love it. Marie, thank you so much. And
thank you so much. I'm really happy that we've done this today. Perfect day.
Everyone out there, the Happiness Reloaded group celebration day, have a lovely day and see you soon.